Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Boss Shot Shells. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
The war chief is nothing to fool with.
Best.
Go get it right now. Be a great under the tree present.
Yep. If you're looking for a gift for your other half, husband, kid, whatever, go to bosshotshells.com and order him some War Chief. With us today from Oklahoma City, Miss Jennifer Roberts. Jennifer, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
We're doing good. So you're the founder of the Crisis Nursery in OKC, right?
Correct.
And what is the goal of the Crisis Nursery?
Yeah, and we prevent abuse and neglect in kids. We provide a safe place for them to go when their parents are experiencing a crisis situation.
So I'm assuming you deal with a bunch of heartache in your life and heartbreak.
Just a little bit. Well, a lot of good too, though. The good outweighs the bad for sure.
How do you manage everything? Like with as far, because my mom would just bring all these kids home at the end of the day is what would end up happening. So like, how do you fight that urge?
I definitely want to take all of them home. Every one of them, we get attached to every single, especially the babies. They're so sweet. But I've actually fostered one little girl, and they're actually bringing another little one today that I'm going to be fostering for about 6 months or so. I don't typically do that. But I made sure I didn't have my foster license kind of active because of that. But yeah, most of the families we do help, it is parents trying, like they're really trying. And so we don't see that a whole lot, thank goodness.
So
Yeah.
like a hospital gets I'm going to go to both extremes here. I'm going to say there's a car accident and there's a baby in the seat and the mom's hurt bad. You take in kids in that situation. Is that one of the situations that y'all do?
We have, yeah. As long as, like the kids are okay. We do get the calls for like if a mom's in a car wreck and her kids are at daycare and she can't go pick them up. And so we actually had a mom, she passed away. So that one was pretty tough. We went and picked up the kids, and the little boy was my son's age. So that one was really tough. That one still hurts a little bit. But yeah, we typically, just get those calls whenever they don't have anybody else to go and, watch their kids. And that's the main goal, is like that way they don't have to drop them off with the neighbor or the boyfriend. So that's kind of the goal behind this.
So you had to go pick up two kids who's at a daycare whose mom was killed in an accident and they had no one else to go to?
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
she
horrible.
didn't have any family here. It was a domestic violence situation. So all of his family was from out of state. And so her mom actually had never met the kids. It was a really weird deal. So she came from New Mexico. And so I actually kept them until she came, and just were awkward because she had never met the kids. The kids didn't know the mom passed away. And so I just sat here with them until she got here. And that one hurt so bad whenever they left. So, yeah, like I said, that he was my son's age.
What do you tell them while they're sitting in your house?
Mom was in an accident. They knew that. She luckily did not tell them when she was here, thank goodness. So I didn't have to kind of see that. But we just love them. That's the thing. There's like a bubble around this house, and we have fun. We don't tell the kids no. If they want to jump on the couch, they jump on the couch. Whatever, we'll get another one. So that's kind of the fun thing about this, is we're like the fun aunt or the fun grandma, the house that you love to go to.
That was one side. I guess another side is you get a call for a meth overdose or some strung out junkie, and you get their kids too, right?
No, typically we don't get those. DHS gets those. Now in the beginning stages, we kind of helped, with DHS, and we kind of scaled back a little bit on that because I didn't want this to be a place where kids remembered like leaving their siblings. They were kind of splitting siblings up, and I didn't like that. I don't want this to be a place where they remember like a bad memory, and so we don't really do a whole lot of that. So DHS gets those kids.
I feel sorry for those kids. They fall through the cracks. It's not their fault, but
100%.
They go from you see these crack houses get raided. I don't even know if you call it a crack house, just a house with a bunch of dope heads in it, and there's little kids there. Those kids are the victims, and I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm assuming it's a very high percentage that those kids end up in the same position their parents are in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And typically they'll go back to the parents. That's always the goal, is reunification, which I'm, all for if the parents are changing their life and trying. But a lot of times, they just go down the same road because they don't know how to break the cycle.
So when did all this start for you? Like, when did you go on this path of helping kids?
Yeah, I've always loved kids. I've always been called Mother Hubbard. I always have like extra kids around me. It's really weird. I love kids. They don't annoy me at all. I don't get stressed. It's really weird. I can have a baby crying and I can hold a conversation. It doesn't affect me at all. So I've always loved the outreach programs at our church and kind of, took off with that. And they'd always send me to the areas where it was really scary and nobody wanted to get out of their car. And I'm like walking around, knocking on doors, picking up kids, taking them to the community center so we can have cupcakes. So I'm not afraid to go into areas. I totally fit in. I always joke. I'm like, I totally fit in there. But I know I don't. But they sense, like I'm not afraid and I'm not like, I don't act like I'm better than anybody. And so we've gone to we went to this hotel. They actually just shut this hotel down. Thank goodness, the Plaza Inn. And I had my son's girlfriend. She's a cute little blonde. And I'm like, don't make eye contact. Just look straight ahead. Just don't get out of the car. If they get me, you just drive off. Do not get out of the car. So we do go into situations like that. And the pimp, it was funny because there's a pimp literally in this car next to us. And he sees me getting these diapers out. I was just taking diapers. I wasn't even picking up kids. I was actually trying to see if the baby was okay because I knew the mom was prostituting out of her hotel room. And so I was just like I kind of go undercover, a little bit. And I'm like, okay, I just want to make sure the baby's okay. So I told her I had some diapers and some formula. So I'm bringing them to her. And this pimp is like helping me get this stuff out of the car. And I happen to have a snack box in there. And I'm like, are you hungry? And he's like, I stay hungry, girl. And so it's like, I joke with him, that was funny to me, like he knows I'm not scared of him and I'm not there to hurt, anything that he's doing. And so they know that. So I'm not naive by any means, but at the same time, it's like I'm here to help, and they know that. So I'm kind of known around town, the Black Tahoe pulling up, super sketch with the windows tinted. That's me, and so they kind of know, that's the nursery Tahoe.
So shit, girl, you got to stay hungry in these streets.
I know, right?
You're delivering formula and diapers to babies. Yes. Just on the street, basically, to homeless people and stuff like that. That's a hell of a calling right there. Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's different. Not your everyday.
We have such a problem with kids today. I went to my grandkids' Christmas deal the other day, Christmas concert the other night, and I noticed on stage, I was watching all the kids and stuff, and we have so many kids that have, I don't know, I'm trying not to hurt nobody's feelings because I'm not trying to, but not just special needs kids, but we just got a lot of kids that have behavioral problems, and it's getting worse and worse, and it's got to be a man-made crisis because a baby's a baby. A 5-year-old kid's the same 5-year-old kid they had in 1940 and 1850 and whatever. But these kids have all got every class had 1 or 2 kids that have some major problems. Well, it's the lack of man being around is what it is. And to be honest, I mean that's typically what we see. They don't have a father or a father figure in their life. It makes a big difference.
I think I'll have to look it up, but that is one of the single greatest predictors in a young man's life is if he's going to be broke or a criminal, is there a father figure?
Mm-hmm. I've been broke most of my life. So what was that from?
But you're not a criminal.
No, I've never stolen nothing. Probably have some money if I was stealing shit. But I mean, you notice kids today, and I talk about this on our podcast all the time. And I catch shit. I say, well, back when I was a kid, things were so much better. Blah blah. But when I was a kid, you didn't have kids. You had a hyper kid. It was called just being a boy. And I think we have over medicated the children of the world today. There's so much on medicine, and they just don't know how to act. Mm-hmm. And one of the problems I think, and this, we need more spankings in the world too.
I'm not agreeing with that because that's that's how I was raised, of course. But yeah, it's just they put a label on, okay, this is the problem child, and I'm not one that sits still, but it benefits me because I'm all over the place and it's what I need to do. And so it's like channeling your energy to something good. That's what they're lacking. And they've never had anybody that's the thing with this place is we have a child that comes in. I'm like, okay, I know I need to do this differently with them versus, this child's just going to sit there and play with Legos, whatever. So you have to kind of like adjust it. And a lot of people don't know how to adjust that. You just have to keep those kids busy is what it is.
So what does it look like? Like, how do kids, how do you find kids to help, or do they come to you?
They come to us. They typically it's word of mouth. Social media has really helped us kind of take off. We were supposed to take a year to get up and going. That's what they told us with licensing. We have to be licensed through the state as a child care provider. At first, they told us we would be labeled as a shelter, and so I was expecting about a year. But we opened our Facebook page up, and I just got flooded with all these messages and all these moms needing it. I mean, like literally day 2, this mom was like, "I'm having a baby tomorrow. I don't have anybody to watch my 3-year-old. He's very hyper. He was probably my most hyper child to date, and he was our very first one." But I just stayed up at the hospital with her. It was crazy because the doctor actually left the room, and I helped deliver the baby, which was so crazy. It was on Valentine's Day. But yeah, that was before we opened in May of that year. So it took off, and it was a need. When I say took off, it's not like a good thing because the support and stuff wasn't there yet. It was just the need was there.
So what happened? The doctor went out for a coffee and was like, "Hey, I'll be right back. Don't push."
She kept telling him. She was very calm. I mean, most people are screaming and they're like, I'm having a baby. No, she was just very calm. She was like, I kind of feel like I'm kind of having a contraction. Can you call the nurse and see if they can get my epidural going? And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm working on my website. I hadn't made our website yet, so I'm just working on that. Sitting next to her, and he fell asleep, thank goodness. And so I'm getting the nurse, push the nurse. And she literally is like, oh my gosh, I think I'm having, and she's like pulling her leg back and she's having the baby right there. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And so I literally caught the baby and just out she came, and she was beautiful. And she helped me, I helped her name the baby. But the doctors came in, one of the nurses had a sucker in her mouth. She was like, oh my gosh. And so the anesthesiologist was walking in. And he's like, oh my gosh, well, I think I owe you actually. You helped have, help have the baby. So it was really crazy. I've never experienced that ever. She didn't even scream or anything. I mean, she was just like, yeah, I think I'm going to have her.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Because not too long ago, Jeff and I were talking about, you hear of women, I've heard of women that are like, oh, I didn't even know I was pregnant. And then I go to the toilet and there's a baby in there. And it's like,
Yeah.
First of all,
she would be one of those.
First of all, how do you not know
Not
you're
me.
pregnant?
You knew I was pregnant immediately.
Well, I don't know how a woman doesn't know she's pregnant. She has to be a big girl.
I guess.
You think a big girl can hide it a little better. Like if I was 4 months pregnant, nobody would know.
Right.
But
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, typically they are.
So is there a place, or do they just literally come to your house?
It's not my house. I get asked that a lot. Is this your house? I don't leave very often. But yeah, it is. It's located in a house, and we did that because we want it to feel comfortable. I don't ever want it to feel like a daycare. Right. It always smells really good in here. We always have really good candles and stuff, but want it to feel like home. So when they get here, they're like, they literally, it's the craziest thing because they all run back to the playroom immediately. That's my neighbor knocking on the door. Sorry, she has no boundaries. I texted her and told her not to, but she still came. But yeah, they literally just go straight back to the playroom. It's almost like they just know, okay, this is what the toys are, and then their parents are like, okay, I guess I can leave now. They just feel comfortable, and that's
one
what
of the
want.
things I read that you do is you've got 100 families that you supply diapers and formula for. How does for everybody that listens to this knows I'm big time against a lot of government involvement in giving people money, but I'm really big on people helping people. So
yes, me too.
How do you does anybody get turned down for diapers and formulas?
No. Well, I say that now I get to know the families really well, and I know the ones that try to sell them on Marketplace and stuff. So I call them out. I've been called a lot of names racist, and they say stuff to me and whatever. I don't care. But at the end of the day, don't sell our diapers. I'll give you a stroller that nobody needs. If you're gonna sell something, let me give you one of my sweatshirts or something. Don't sell the diapers because that's people's hard-earned money. So I do take that. I take offense to that. And so I do. Of course they'll give us a different name. And we don't really have requirements as far as ID. They don't have to show ID. Things like that. So I don't care if their name is what's this one girl last week? It was Real D Queen, as was her Facebook name, and that's what I put on her diapers. So we don't really care. It's if you need it for your babies.
See, that would make me madder than hell if someone came to my center to try to help them and they were selling shit behind my back. I would have a stroke over that.
I've learned a lot of great, I in the very beginning stages of this, I spoke my mind on social media, and then I got murdered for it. I mean, it was just awful. It was just, people were attacking me. It was really bad. So I learned really, really quickly to bite my tongue and kind of the proper way to respond. And then sometimes if I can't, then I just have one of my friends, we have a lot of volunteers that kind of help with that. And I'm like, you got to take that one over because I'm going to say something. So yeah, this has taught me like a lot of
Does
patience for
Procter and
sure.
Gamble, do they give y'all stuff, or is it all through donations?
All through donations, yeah, all community support. We have a grant that we're actually going to get starting the first of the year. It's kind of through the state, but and it's filtered through another organization. But we'll actually get reimbursed for diapers and things, but we can use it for anything. So it's just kind of like a pregnancy support, kind of really just keeping the babies alive is what it's for. It's supporting the babies that are here. So we're really excited about that because we'll be able to use that money to help more families and not have to rely so much on the
Well, I know
community.
Christmas is hard on a lot of single parents, and it's hard on just a
Hmm.
lot of parents in general. And
Yeah.
the other day you were unloading bicycles. Is that correct?
Yeah, and this morning, my favorite thing right now. Yeah, so what we did the first year in 2019, it was I think 3 or 4 days before Christmas. We saw on Facebook this thread of these parents that didn't have anything for their kids, and I'm like, well, maybe we can gather up some gifts and help them. And so we did. We helped, I think it was like 200 families that first year. Within a matter of days, I posted on Facebook and said, hey, we need help. And people sent gifts from all over, the United States. It was really cool. But we filled up the entire house. It was just like toys everywhere. And then we, set them out for the families and stuff. So it's definitely grown from that. But I don't know who that is knocking on the
We've got
door.
the
Sorry.
ring.
They keep knocking, but yeah. But yeah, basically we want to help, provide that support for them. But we're basically gifting them like a memory is what we're doing. We're not just giving them gifts. We're not giving them wrapped gifts. We're giving them gifts that they can actually wrap themselves, and then they can, do everything as if they went and bought them themselves. So it really gives them that dignity. It's way different than most. We do not want the kids here whenever they pick up the gifts, which I love because it's awkward,
Yeah.
like, hey, these strangers are giving you a gift way before Christmas. And so that's not what it's about. We want to help support the family. So we give them wrapping paper, scissors, tape, and a note from Santa and cookies.
That's
So,
really very, very nice of you.
we do that.
What are y'all?
We
What are
try to.
y'all going to be on? Pretty much on par this year with what you need, or are y'all by?
We are way behind. We actually, so last year we've had it open kind of to the public, and it just becomes pure chaos because these people that don't even have kids, and we're trying to decipher, okay, do they even have kids? And so we said this year, we're going to leave it just to the families that that we've helped before and that we know. And so we said we would help 500 families, which most families have 4 or 5 kids, so that's still over 2,000 kids that we're going to help, which is a lot. And when I say that, there's Toys for Tots and all these different organizations that have helping with toys, but they're all maxed out this year. And so everybody that signed up in October basically got chosen, which I think is weird, that they know in October that they're going to need help. But so they're all declining all these families. So we're going to have probably double that, at least 5,000 kids is what we're anticipating to help
Wow,
in the next couple
five
weeks.
thousand
So yeah.
kids. So, if any of our
Yeah.
listeners wanted to donate to help you, how would they do that?
Yeah, on our Facebook or our website, either one, we have, our wish list. The Amazon wish list is kind of the easiest for everybody because you can go on there and shop, and we update that every day. As toys come in, we're kind of like adjusting it, and you can give monetarily. And we have Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. On our website and everything, you can donate that way. It's pretty easy to donate, even if it's $5. It goes a long way. We don't have any staff, so none of your money is going to any overhead. Our main bills our core bills, are paid already, and so everything that comes in for the rest of the year is going to help these kids. So definitely, we
What's
stretch it for sure. We
what's the
bargain shop.
Facebook page?
It's OKCity Crisis Nursery. We also have an Instagram as well, but you can type in Crisis Nursery and it typically
In
will pull
Oklahoma,
up.
OKC Crisis Nursery. Everybody listening
Correct. Yeah.
here, I know they can use help there too. I also really, really wish you would help your local stuff too, because every local town has got people. Help as many organizations as you can. But it's a tough time. I'd hate to be a parent this time of year and not be able to give your kid a gift. But what stinks is there's so
Correct.
many damn parents you just don't trust. Just like
Hmm.
selling crap. You give them something and then they sell this stuff, and
Hmm.
it's so unfair to the kids.
Well, it's not even that. It's like I can. My kids are gonna have a great Christmas, but I feel bad that my kids are gonna have a good Christmas. You know what I mean? It's like because there are so many kids, and we haven't done it yet, but I think my oldest is in the third grade, and it's just like just I don't, you want him to be excited about his gifts, but at the same time, you don't want that, him go back to school in January and just talk about everything that he got.
You feel sorry for the kid that don't get anything in that class.
And just like, just don't be an asshole about it. And he's not. He's got a really, really good heart, so I don't think that he would ever,
They don't mean to.
Yeah, but it just, kids talk like, hey, how was your Christmas? Oh, good. I got this, this, and this, and this. And, there's a lot of kids that are, well, I just got this.
I got a pair of socks.
Right.
Yeah.
Or a pair of pants, something, or a coat.
Which that's on a lot of their lists, though. It's sad. Like, it's on a lot of the lists. Like, they just want clothes. They just want a toothbrush. Like,
I played Santa Claus twice this year. I do every year in our little town. And what amazed me is the 6-year-old kids want a freaking iPhone.
Yeah.
I mean, I need an iPhone. Some of the kids' parents don't even have jobs. How your parents can afford a $1,200 phone? And I feel bad for the parent but first of all, a 6-year-old kid don't need no damn iPhone anyways.
How you going to pay that bill, kid?
Yeah. But I feel sorry for the kids. I used to not think, I grew up poor and I went to an elementary in Wichita Falls. It was all poor kids. So we all had the same Christmases. We all got the same shit, We weren't mixed up with some rich kids in our class that was getting, brand new dirt bikes and crap. We all got poor kid stuff. But I feel sorry for those kids, like those neighborhoods where they put in these stupid Section 8 apartments, and then they've got kids from upper middle class kids in there, and those kids are going skiing, and they're getting the newest PS5 and this other kid lucky to get ramen noodles and a pair of socks for Christmas. And I feel so sorry for that kid. And living in a small town like we do, and Andy's my son, and some of my grandkids, they're going to have a good Christmas. But there's some kids they're in Reese's class that are not going to have good Christmases. But I hate for my grandkid not to get to enjoy Christmas because his parents bust their ass to give him something because some other kid in there has got a dad or a mom. And some kids are just poor like I was. And there's some kids are that way because their parents are selfish and don't do shit for their own kids. And I feel sorry for them kids so much. It's.
I agree 100%.
Kids don't ask to be born into this crap that they get born into.
I say that every day. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. It's our job, here to, help, make that better. So that's what we try to do, especially with the Christmas presents. We give 4 or 5, really good presents. And so that's what we try to do. I agree 100% with you. My kids are kind of at that point, my 9-year-old, he really doesn't want anything for Christmas. I mean, he's like, well, give me some Roblox bucks, whatever. He could care less. He really doesn't. And that's honestly just because he's been around this. I really do contribute that. His dad, they've got, they're way better off than I am. And he has everything he wants, he really does. And so this isn't really a time where he looks forward to it. Honestly, it's just another day to him. So, which I'm so thankful for. But yeah, it's tough. It's so tough on these kids when they go back to school. Yeah. And they've got, they see their friends with these new, $300 shoes and, they've still got some with holes in them, so it's tough. Absolutely.
And kids are expensive nowadays. You used to be able to buy a toy for $5 and you can't buy. I don't even know what a kid would want if for $20. Can you even buy a gift under $20 hardly these days?
No, I mean, if it's a girl, you can get some makeup maybe, but yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Each kid, it's around $300 is what I kind of average that we, kind of give them. Some of them a little bit more just depending on the age, but that's a, pretty slim Christmas too.
How many kids are you buying Christmas presents for? 500 or 5,000?
5,000. Yeah, it's what we're anticipating. It probably will get a little bit more just because we've got a space that we secured this morning, actually. And it has more room in it. So we're able to, accommodate more presents and stuff. And I've got a lot more help this year. So first year we did it, I think there was 4 of us. And then each year it's kind of grown to, last year we had about 30 of us doing it. So this year we're going to up that number for sure.
So you're needing to raise $1 million for Christmas.
No big deal. In a couple weeks it's fine.
Yeah. But that's the dollar. But that's the dollar figure. You need $1 million to $1.5 million.
Yeah. To do that, yeah. And with that being said, it can be a gift, it doesn't have to just be money. We're not asking, people to just send money, which is great if you do, because we can stretch that. We don't have to pay taxes. When we go to the store, we don't have to pay taxes on that. So, and the local stores here, they all know us. Target, she knows us. There's 2 people that know us by name there, and they greet us at the door, and they're like, hey. So, we make it stretch for sure. So
imagine every city in the United States. How many kids people are having to do for Christmas for them?
Yeah, this is just Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City is what I would call a pretty. Oklahoma City, I think, is one of the safest cities in the United States with the pretty good average middle class family and incomes. You imagine a town like Chicago's outside of Chicago with all the ghettos they have, how many kids are going without.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's sad. I don't think I could make it there.
Well, what you're doing is
Definitely want to take them all home.
what you're doing is God's work, and it's not just the Christmas stuff; it's the stuff that's not Christmas that you do is amazing. Now,
Yeah, this is a year round for you, right?
Yeah, yeah. Christmas, that's what everybody's like. Can you add that to your plate? I'm like, yeah. With COVID, whenever COVID hit, it was great because the Christmas actually prepared us for COVID. It really did that first year, because we've kind of learned to adapt and kind of figure out like, okay, how are we gonna get to these families? A lot of them don't have cars, and so when COVID hit, we were like the mobile like food. We weren't afraid to go in the grocery stores. I had all these teens that it was funny because their parents were like, they're not coming home. They're gonna just stay with you, and I'm like, cool, great. So they just stayed with me for months. And so, we were the ones that were going to the hospital and picking up the kids, but our numbers went way down, and the kids we watched and had in care. And then also at the same time, whenever mom would go into labor, like she couldn't bring her kids, whereas before you could. And so we would have these kids for like 4 or 5 days versus just usually up to 24 hours. So it kind of changed everything we did. But which it was great because we didn't ever hire any staff. We still haven't. We have to next year just because of the admin stuff, because it's too much, correspondence with families and stuff. But at the same time, we rely on volunteers, and it's a really good concept, and that's how all the other crisis nurseries are basically run, mostly by volunteers. So it's kind of a unique thing. Whereas most people, I always laugh. They're like, can I meet you at your office? And I'm like, yeah, I'm in here, in the living room with my computer, on a tote. So it's just kind of like, we kind of adapt, and we're a mobile unit most of the time. That Tahoe, I think there's like 160,000 miles on it now. She's still going. She's going to go for a while. But we end up getting a trailer. And so we provided beds and all these things that we still do. I say we're not going to do that anymore. And I just did it yesterday, and I'm a dresser too. Everybody knows I won't say no. When it comes to a kid, if I go take this kid home and I'm seeing that there is not a bed in there for him to sleep on that night, he's going to have a bed before he goes to bed. So we make sure of that. So yeah, it's hard not to get your, heart attached to, the situations. And again, it's not their fault. The parents may have, had bad choices. A lot of these moms, like the domestic violence, that's the main one that we help with now, especially. There's domestic violence resources, but they're all kind of maxed out. And then they don't have like that personal, touch. We had a mom recently that sent $500. It's so cool. She sent $500, and she's one that we helped. And I met her at the gas station. I pulled out some cash and gave it to her, and got her kids some golden chick. They want a golden chick, and so went and got that. But most nonprofits, you can't do that, and I gave that money to her for a hotel, because the shelters were full, and I know that he was going to kill her if she went back. So, and we have that flexibility because the community, and it was so cool when I did that because. I have these, I always say like God's got it, but it's true. I had just, pulled the cash out, and I think I got $400 out of the amount that I'd pulled because it was like for 2 weeks of the hotel. And we got a donation like right after for the exact amount. And so just a random donation. It was like a Saturday night, I think. It was just kind of random. And they said for whatever is needed on the subject. So those moments are so cool, and it happens every single day. Anytime I'm kind of like, we probably shouldn't do that because it's, that's probably money we could use to help, a lot of families with diapers and stuff. And then, somebody just randomly sends us money. So it's just kind of reassurance that, hey, we're on the right track. Just keep doing what we're doing. The money will come in.
So what happened with this lady? She called you up and was like, "Hey, I got to get out of here."
Yeah. She had nowhere to go. And she actually ended up going into the shelter. They eventually got her in. They only have space for so many families, and a lot of families too. Like the moms will kind of lie. I've noticed. We're on the back end, so we kind of see everything. So a lot of the moms will lie and say they have domestic violence situation because that's kind of like the best shelter out of, most of them are here, which they're not great. None of them are great, but it is what it is. But she called me after they went to the shelter, and she was like, can we just come hang out? Because, the kids, like the TV, like they didn't have a remote for the TV, which I thought was weird. I'm like, go to the store and get another
Yeah.
one. But so they came here, and the teenager, he took a nap on the couch. But her kids just wanted to play. Like they just missed that like home environment, and she like cooked, on the stove. And so that home environment is so important. And we're just really laid back here. We have a lot of moms that leave from the hospital and they come get diapers and stuff, and they just come here and take a nap. And of course we love it because we want to hold their babies. We love that. That's our thing here. If you came in here, like you would see, there's no cribs. We don't keep cribs here. We have pack and plays if we need them to put the babies down for a minute, but we don't ever put babies down here. We always hold them. So we always make sure if we're going to stay overnight, if they're going to stay the night, that somebody's here, around the clock to hold those babies.
And hold on a second. They're sleeping in your house?
Yeah, the parents don't typically
Oh.
sleep here. They don't stay the night. Yeah, I'm just saying they just take a nap, but the kids do.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's the oldest kid that you'll let sleep in your house?
We've actually had, I guess she was 17. She was actually pregnant, but she stayed here for a couple of days while they were trying to find a placement for her for DHS. She wasn't, a troubled child. Like she just, she kind of got in trouble at school or whatever, but she just had a rough life. It was sad. But she'd recently lost her best friend to suicide. And she just a really cool story with her, but she still keeps in touch with us on social media. So yeah, that's 17, I guess, would be the oldest that we've had. So
Are you worried about anybody any of these kids robbing you or anything? Like do you put up
No.
your fine silverware?
We don't have any fine silverware here.
Well, neither do I.
We don't do
but-
dinner parties here. That's what I always say. Like, if they want to break in here, the TV is kind of going out now. I've had that TV in my house for a while, and then I hung it here. But no, if they want to steal the TV, steal it. But we've never had any issues with that. We've had 2 different occasions over 5 years where people stole diapers that were set out for another family. That's all we've had. So, and it wasn't. I really truly believe it wasn't anybody that knew like who we were. I think it was just a random thing they were driving by and saw them out there. So yeah, we've never had any issues.
That's remarkable in itself.
Yeah.
During COVID, did you lose contact with a lot of people? Because I know Wichita Falls. I'm on school board here in Knox City, and Wichita Falls report. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a big number of kids that just like evaporated. They were kind of in the system, and then COVID happened, and then like nobody heard from these kids.
Yeah, that's whenever we kind of stepped up. That's when we kind of, keep in touch because they needed things, like the parents needed things, diapers and things. So we actually got to, kind of check on them. There were several times where I'd call DHS, and I don't, if I'm calling DHS, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I try not to. I'm not saying like we're hiding out. Careful what I say because people take it the wrong way. But there's times where I'm like, oh, that's pretty, sketch, whatever. But we try to help those parents. I try to like lead by example and say, like, hey, this is how I parent. This is how what I typically say is this is what I've seen other people do, because I don't ever want to try to say like,
Right.
oh, I'm a good parent, because nobody is a great parent, and we try, but we're all learning. But it's one of those things. I call DHS and I'm like, hey, like this is a bad situation. This baby is not, going to make it. And we call it our quarterly rescue. So we typically have like every quarter, like a baby or a child, but it's typically babies that we really have to kind of go above and beyond and keep them longer and kind of keep in touch with these moms. And, it's not lying to them, but in a way we have to kind of like get down to their level. So I'm like, if you want to go be a stripper, go be a stripper, whatever, but bring your baby here. Don't just leave them with a neighbor. Don't leave them with a boyfriend. That's typically what we see. So we try to break that cycle. I was raised by he's my stepdad, but I call him dad. He's been my dad, my whole life, and really great man. He was a coach, for Ryder, and as grown up, I grew up on the baseball field. So I kind of grew up, like with a boy, mentality in a way. Nobody's going to hurt me. If they do, he's going to be here. And I always know that, but a lot of females, they don't grow up with that. So they don't know. It's just one of those things that's like, you kind of try to give them that advice, and try to like show them like, hey, this is how I was raised, and just keep in touch with them. And so, there's times where I'm like, oh, I cringe because I'm like, oh, I read their Facebook post and I'm like, oh, I just know they're going down the wrong path. But those are the ones that I kind of step in more with, and just say, hey, I'm missing, baby girl or baby boy, I'm missing them. Can I come get them? I got some cute outfits. Can I, come get them? Just kind of like, make it to where I'm not saying like, oh, I see that you're not doing well.
Right.
And so those are ones that, we've built that relationship with them, and we want to, help them at the end of the day. Like, we're not trying to take their kids from them. We're not trying to, separate their families. We want to keep them together if we can. And they know that. So,
Yeah, a thought. I've got two boys, and being a dad is important for boys, but it is
yeah.
equally, if not more important, if you have daughters, because
Mhm.
they need to see how you're supposed to be treated. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, don't put up with that
Mhm.
bullshit.
Absolutely. And the man of the house, like that's the rock,
Right.
And so like all these families, like, the dynamics are so different. You've got like, kids being raised by the grandma who's also single,
Yeah.
and the mom is in jail, or she's, in a rehab facility, and it's tough. God, it's tough to see that, because it's like you want better for these kids, but at the end of the day, I truly do believe, like they're better with their family, but at the same time, like let's try to break that curse, like let's try to like, change it. Most people, my real dad committed suicide growing up. I could have gone a different path, and I thank goodness I chose to let that better my life, and I try to help people, and I take that seriously. Whenever I see a person saying they want to commit suicide, I take that seriously, because I know what it's like, to kind of pick up the pieces and wonder like, oh, what would my life be, with them. So it does make you more sensitive to those situations. But I mean, I could have said, oh, poor me, but I don't, and so I feel like a lot of people use that as a crutch, like, oh, I was raised this way, and I've been abused, whatever the case is, and they use it, as a crutch. And I don't believe in that. I think you should use that to better, like the next generation, and help other kids that are dealing with it. So,
Did you? How old were you when your dad committed suicide?
I was 7.
7.
So, yeah.
That's a tough
Yeah,
age.
but like I said, I'm one of the, the rare, because I had that, the resilience factor. I've done a lot of research on this, like what makes a person abuse, what makes the drug use and all that. And so my dad, I called my dad, was my stepdad, but he was in my life since I was 2. And so I had him, and I grew up in church, and I truly believe, being a small town, it definitely helps, because you have a ton of support. Like you grow up, being at church on Sunday, you grow up with all those families, and um, so I mean that's truly what makes a difference if you have that in your life. So, and it doesn't have to be a father, like it doesn't have to actually be your biological father
No.
or a stepfather or whatever. It could be, just a friend's father. Like I just feel like that's so important for like a man to be in these kids' lives. It really makes a difference.
Well, that's how young boys get into the gangs. I mean, they don't
Yeah.
have the father figure at home, and then they look in their neighborhood, and then there's the guy that's got something going on. It's not the best, but he's at least got a wad of cash,
Money,
and
and yeah.
fast. It's a fast life, but that's who they gravitate to, because there's nobody else. Anybody that's there's nobody there. Dad's gone,
So they
and I mean
respect.
they're gonna go to the next best thing, and that's it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Did you?
That's sad.
Does anybody ever worry about you like narking on them? Like here, they're like, oh, they ever think you're the cop pulling up in your Tahoe? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like I said, like I have to get out and just, smile. I'm like, hey, like, just pretend that, I live there. But yeah, there's times where they look at me and they're like, whatever. And, I don't feel like they were going to like rob me by any means, but I don't act naive. But yeah, you just kind of like learn to, like, you just get in character kind of, I guess. But at the end of the day, like my goal is to, help that kid, that I'm going there for. When I was delivering the beds and stuff. And that was, I'd pull up in the trailer, which was even more like, and then I'd get out and they're like, why is this girl getting out of this car? And I didn't even know how to back up the dang thing when I first got it. It's not like a boat I backed up boats, but it's not the same. And I hit the house the first day we got it. But, I usually just say like, hey, can you help me? I'm going to back up. Like, and I just kind of act like I need their help. And that usually does the trick, and it kind of like gets that bond with them right away. So that's typically what I do. If I see like, a big guy and he's like just sitting outside, I pulled up to a house one time to pick up this little girl, and I knew it was domestic violence, but it was one of those, like she had gotten away from the guy. I want to preface with that, because I don't ever go into a domestic violence situation
Right.
ever. I always call the cops. I have to, and I tell them that, like, I'm calling the cops, because they usually have 2 to 3 patrol cars, and they do that for a reason. Like, they don't ever just go to a domestic violence call by themselves. Like, so if the cops are going to have several cars, I'm not ever going to go in by myself, because those go sideways really fast. Like, those are not good situations. So they will kill you for sure. But whenever I, go into these places, it's typically, the gangs and stuff are really bad at these communities, these housing. The one I went to in particular that that one I was talking about, It was kind of like southwest Oklahoma City, kind of south of the like downtown area, and so it's definitely known for gangs, and it's really really bad area. It's definitely not a place where you'd want to be broken down on the side of the road. Because I mean, to give you an idea, I can't deliver pizza there. Whenever I have a family that doesn't have food and I try to have food delivered to them, the delivery drivers will not deliver there because they've been stabbed.
Oh, Jesus.
So yeah, and you wouldn't think that was in Oklahoma, but it is. And so, but I pull up, and there's the guy sitting on the porch with a gun. And I'm like, are you serious right now? Is this really happening? And so it's just one of those moments. I'm like, I got to get this kid, because I know like the mom was not doing well. She said she was suicidal. It was one that like DHS was already involved in. And so it's not like I had to call DHS. Like they're the ones that called me and asked if I could help with this baby. I'm like, okay. So here I am. I'm like, okay, I need you to protect me, because if this is the way I'm supposed to go down, this is the way I'm supposed to go down. So I just kind of had like this bubble around me, I swear. And I'm like, hey, and I said her name, and he's like, yeah, she's inside. And I walk right in, get the baby, and go back out. And so it's crazy, but they know that's why I'm there, so it's not, I'm not the bad guy. So they know I'm there to help them.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
There's no way.
Really
I'm walking.
like,
I'm getting back in my car, and I don't have that. I don't have that in me.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
I mean, at some point, I'm like, well, I can help more people if I'm alive.
Things, I said that too.
I can help more people if I'm alive. If I die, the whole ship sinks.
I know. Yeah, I always kind of check in with my friends or family. I'm like, okay, this is a totally sketch area that I'm going to. I don't know these people. Usually, like, I know them or I've messaged them, but it's not anybody that's mad at me. I'll put it that way. Like, they're all like, they're looking forward to me coming. There's a lot of times where I go into these communities and they don't speak English, and that's kind of hard. I'm trying to use the app on my phone, and it was so funny because I'm telling this one lady that this isn't what we usually do. Like, I don't usually deliver like formula and diapers. It's not our full-time gig, is what I was trying to tell her and convey to her, because she was kind of like demanding, like, hey, I need diapers now. And I was trying to explain to her, like, this isn't what we do. We typically watch babies, and we can watch your baby anytime, is what I was saying in the app. But my friend said it sounded like, I will take your baby. and so it's like, and she could tell she was just like, no.
No.
And I'm like, that's not what I meant. So I'm trying to learn Spanish in my free time, because I need to know like fluently, like how to like say that, like wording wise, like, so that's one thing I'm working on. That's one bad feedback that I got.
Do you carry any sort of protection? Mace, pepper spray, bear spray, a gun?
I do have mace. So I can't really like carry the gun with children in the car. But I can, if they're not in the car. It's a really weird, like it's a fine line, because I don't want to have a gun around and then the child, we can't have it, accessible to the child.
Right.
Obviously we have to have it, in different, things. But it is what it is. I mean, I have one, with me whenever I'm going into like a delivery situation. But if I'm picking up a kid, I typically don't. So yeah.
But mace all the time, right? Mace, you can do mace all the time.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'd have that stuff out all the time. Like, that'd be what I'd show them. Like, I'm here for the kid.
Yeah. I'm actually taking like a self-defense class too. Because I would like to, know how to, like, if they're coming after me, I would love to know, like some little tricks to, I think that, like everybody says, like, if it came down to it, I could do it, but at the end of the day, like they're going to be bigger than me.
No, you can't. That's the biggest, that's the biggest misconception that people have. Because I do jujitsu in the off season. Right now we're in hunting season. It's 7 days a week. But, you hear that guy that's like, if I get into a street fight, I'll just see red and, my body will take over. No, your body will just crater. If you go up against somebody that knows what they're doing, you're screwed. You're screwed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
What are you taking? What classes?
It's a self-defense class. It's actually at a it's a, what is it called? Something, it's like a martial arts place here. But she has like, there's a lady in there that does like for women. She's I think she's a cop as well, but she does like, it's a self-defense class for women. But that's kind of what she teaches, is like, how to like take them down, or, like the little tricks, that would be nice to know.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah. You got to you got to protect yourself out there, because
absolutely.
I mean, you hate to be the, but I mean, there a lot of, it's animals in a lot of these areas.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
It's kill or be killed for a lot of people.
I know. Absolutely. Yep. I'm not naive for sure.
No, you can't
so,
be.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Luckily, it doesn't come up very often, though. It really doesn't.
I know it. I know it doesn't, but it's still just. I'm always like a glass half empty kind of guy, so I'm like, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong for me most of the time. So it's like I'd get robbed the first day I tried to deliver diapers. Well, it's
Yeah.
day one. I'm getting my
Yeah.
rims
That's
taken
funny.
off.
Yeah. I know. It's you just have to have your guard up, and at the end of the day, like I said, I know I've got God's got it, and I know He's protecting me. So
Do they
that's what I have to
do
know.
they call
So.
you 24 hours a day, or I mean, how's that work?
Not always. I do set boundaries now. In the very beginning, I'm like, yeah, we'll help any time of the
Yeah,
day. We'll do it, like all gung ho about it. But now it's more, I set boundaries. Like, hey, you knew you were out of formula at 4 o'clock in the
right.
afternoon. Don't call at midnight and saying you need it delivered right now. So I try to set that boundary with them. But at the end of the day, like if you've got a mom that she spills her last can of formula and it's in the middle of the night and I know it's a legit emergency, I'll go. And if they're, a lot of moms, we do a lot of postpartum calls and late at night. So I will answer the phone. If it's midnight, I will answer because I typically know, like, okay, it's either mom in labor and she's heading to the hospital. I've got all the hospital, like the social workers' numbers saved in our phone. So I know, like, if they're calling, I'm probably going to be getting dressed and going to the hospital and picking up kids. So we've had, I guess, 4 or 5 situations now. I was trying to like add them all up the other day because I was trying to figure out like how many times has this happened where we go pick up a kid from the hospital and we don't know if the mom's actually going to make it. And so the very first time we had that happen, I didn't get the mom's name. I forgot to get the little girl's name. So I left with this cute little girl. She's smiling at me. She doesn't talk yet. She's 2. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to get her name. And I don't know the mom's name. So I had to call the hospital back and I'm like, I didn't get anything signed. I don't know. I don't know who this is. I forget. And they're like, her name is Zoe. And she was so cute. But yeah, it was kind of our first, like, I was like, crap, I got to remember to do that. But yeah, we have like forms, that they can sign, but a lot of times we can't get that signature. So we do a lot of just, we live in the gray area. It's just like we got to do whatever is necessary to get that kid to safety or, let that mom handle her, medical emergency. So, and that, that could be for a married woman or a single mom. So that's the thing about this. It's not just low income families that we help. It's all income. I don't ask any questions. Like, it's just, if you need it, here we are. But if they're married, heaven forbid, their husband wants to be in the delivery room with them and they need somebody to watch their 2-year-old. So we have a lot of military as well that, just moved here and they don't have that village yet. But back to the postpartum calls, like that's the number one that like I said, I don't take that lightly. With the suicide factor, like these moms, like they need to be on medication and it's a real thing. I never experienced postpartum, thank goodness, but I've had a lot of friends that have. And like one of my best friends, like I didn't talk to her for a whole year after she had her baby. And so and she's always one that's like loud and happy and, and she just wasn't that way. And she said, later after the fact, like I contemplated going and, driving, on the railroad tracks. And that's how she truly felt. And it's not their fault, like it's really, really tough. So I didn't really realize like the magnitude of that until I started doing this. And again, it's not like, oh, I don't want my baby. I don't like my baby. I'm not right in the head. And so in those moments, that's whenever, you see these news stories and you're like, how could that mom do that? Or how could the husband not see that? They don't see it typically. And so whenever I try to post about that a lot to where it's comfortable, they could talk about it. And we do take it seriously. So if they've been up, especially if you've been up for like several nights
Yeah.
and you're not getting any sleep, the baby's screaming a lot. Typically it's just, oh, they need to change formula or that, they've got gas or something. Most people can kind of decipher that, but when you're in that headspace, you can't. Like, so you don't know, like, you don't know like what you're even doing. And so that's when the abuse happens or, like they kill the baby, it's just in themselves. And so we try to prevent that for sure. And those are the ones I can hear it in their voice and I drop what we're doing. And I don't care if we have kids here or whatever we're doing, I go to them. We had a mom that quarterly rescues. He was so cute. He's still one of my favorites. But I was at my son's birthday. We were eating, and she called and she said, I'm not. What did she say? I don't have a bond with this one." That's what she said, and I thought that was
Wow.
odd how she said it. Yeah, but she's typically like she's been a good mom. She's been broke a lot. She's been asking for diapers for years with every kid, but she's never really like said that. And so I'm like, "What do you mean? Is he crying a lot?" And she sent me a picture of him. She was like, "I'm drinking a lot today." I'm like, okay, where are you at? I need baby cuddles, is what I said. And I was like, I need baby cuddles anyway. My son, we're at his birthday and he's being a jerk to me, 17,
Yeah.
I missed that baby stage. And so I kept like that conversation going with her and tried to, just try to make her feel comfortable. And so I went immediately got him. And she told me she was going to commit suicide.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, okay, hold on. A couple
it's tough.
things with this. How many babies had she had that she asked for diapers? 4?
4 before that.
How
Yeah.
many? Same dad? Different dad?
At that point, yes. She has another one now with another. But yeah. Typically they're different. But yeah, they just keep having them. And I've seen that, like the pattern. Not going to get off into that subject too much, but everybody knows how I feel about it. But, like the abortion laws, they can't have an abortion. And so we're seeing a lot more babies right now. So we're kind of turning into, not an adoption agency by any means. That's not what we're trying to do. But we are connecting the families if they don't want this child, and we are connecting them. We get messages every day from people like wanting to adopt a baby, and we try not to push it. Obviously, we're not trying to push that by any means, but we do tell them that, like, hey, this is here. The sad part, like especially in Oklahoma, I don't know, like in Texas, I know each state's different, but like the laws are so backwards because, like, if I have a 2-year-old, it goes back to that little girl Athena, I think it's her name, out of Lawton area. Surreal, I believe. She, was with family members, and she was abused and starved, and I think she died of like pneumonia. But she had this horrible life. But you can't surrender your child without getting like charges put against you, which I feel like is wrong. I feel like if you don't want your child, you should be able to surrender them. So I'm going to try to change that law eventually. But maybe call it Athena's law or something. But yeah, like that's the thing that's backwards right now is like they can't. So if they've got a 2 and 3-year-old and it's too much for them to handle, that's why they end up killing them, because they they think they're going to get away with it, I guess, but they don't. There's not a way you can just go and say, hey, take my child. And DHS will not take them. Like they will not. Like you're going to get charges pressed against you for abandonment. You're going to go to jail. They know that. And so it's just so sad. These families, that end up with these kids and then they end up, hurting them. That's typically why. So I'm going to try to change that eventually. But we do keep that open with them. Like, hey, there are options. So we've had it happen twice where we connected them to a family. One of the little girl was 3 and then the little boy was a newborn, where the mom, typically I think it's up to 7 days is I think the law that you can surrender your child.
After 7 days, they're yours?
Yeah. And you get charges. Yeah. So I mean, that's definitely wrong, obviously.
That's a weird. So, why would they? Why is there a law like that? I mean,
I don't know. I think, I obviously think that you should be able to drop them off at any age. But yeah, it's just how it is. It's how the laws are. And so I try to keep that conversation with them, and they know, like, we're open, like we're going to try to help them no matter what. If it's, I've got a mom right now that we're connecting her to another family, and she has 3. And she told me, she said, I can't handle this next one. I know I'm not going to be able to do it. I want to give this baby a life that they deserve. But not only that, I want these kids that I have in my, in my care to have a better life, and it's going to affect them. And so I appreciate her for, being honest about that and having the courage to go to me and say that. And so I'm actually connecting them this week, and they're going to have a conversation. She's having the baby little girl in January. So that way there's no abuse that's taken place. She's not on drugs. She's a good mom. She's trying. She's really trying. And I know she is. And so, she's one that she doesn't abuse this. She doesn't come every month and get diapers. Like, she just asks whenever she needs it. And I know she's trying. She's actually working, which I love. We love to see that. But, that's so, I think I respect her, for saying, like, I can't do it. I can't do it again. And, I got pregnant. I shouldn't have, but at least give this baby a chance. So they know that, like, we're here to help support them in any way we can. And so we try to do.
Now,
so.
Here's my it's not hard to not get pregnant. That's the I mean, it's not like that the technology's not out there that could stop an unwanted pregnancy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
You're poor. You're
say
broke.
like, because they didn't have a ride. Yeah, like I didn't have a ride to go get birth control.
What are you talking about?
Like, we can get a ride to go get pregnant.
It's just it's all so frustrating. It's just like, there's condoms and they're cheap, and if you are poor, you can go to Planned Parenthood and they'll put you on the pill for free, and there's all these resources out there. But now we're having...
They can find the resources after the fact, but not like before. That's what I'm like, why? Yeah. I know. I wish I could give out, birth control and condoms. I mean, I guess I can give out condoms with diapers. I guess I could do that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like, hey, there's a little goodie bag in there for you. If you don't want more diapers,
I need to add that.
Use the condoms.
Yeah.
I mean...
if you're going to get diapers, you got to take
Holy cow.
Yeah, no, trust me, is
sex ed? Do they not have sex ed in Oklahoma? Do they not have sex ed in Oklahoma?
They do. The
They're
thing
not
is,
going
okay, what
to.
I've learned is though these women like they want that attention from the
Right.
guy, and whether it's a good guy or not, like to them that's what they want, and that mind frame, like they're trying to keep that guy, so
Right.
they think getting pregnant. Yeah, there's mistakes, that happen, and they, uh-oh, but most of the time, like they're not trying to prevent it. You can't tell me they are.
Right.
If they have four back to back, every year, and obviously, it's tough. Obviously, it's going to hurt you more financially. But they get more money for
Right.
that. And don't get me on that soapbox, but I think that should be limited. Like, okay, 6 months, you're on food stamps for 6 months, and that's it. And if they knew that, then they would try to better themselves. But instead, we're penalized if we make more money. And yeah, don't get me started on that one.
We,
But
I
yeah.
mean, but that is like they have incentivized
Hmm.
being a single mother.
Hmm.
The government has.
Yeah, it's really
The more
it's
children you
really
have,
unfortunate.
the bigger your paycheck's going to be each month.
Absolutely, yeah. Don't get me started on that
I,
one.
I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
and abortion is wrong. It's clearly
Hmm.
wrong. But,
Hmm.
but you
Hmm.
cannot tell me that some of these women that are forced into having these kids that it's a better scenario.
I know,
I
and
mean,
for the ones that are here,
right,
that's why I always say like we support the ones that are here, any way that we can, and that's kind of why I say that because yeah, at the end of the day, no, I'm not saying yeah, go get an abortion.
right,
I think it's great, no, but at the same time, like if that's better for you and your situation and these kids that you have right now, it is what it is. It's so yeah, we live in the gray area, and I know I've gotten crap for that, whatever, but it is what it is. It's these kids are going to suffer more, and that you have in your care already, and this child, like you said, did not ask to be brought into this
right.
world, and they're going to be this horrible life ahead of them, and it's not fair.
Well, it's not
So
only
yeah.
that. It's just you know when you bring a child into that world, then
Mhm.
they you might have 3 or 4 more generations of just a cycle of shit
Yeah.
before you finally
Yeah.
have somebody that says no, I'm not going to do this for my children, like
Yeah.
because they see their parents start working the system and they're like, well, I don't have to go get a
Hmm.
job, I can just have kids, like that's my
And they
job.
all live in that same complex, like
Yes,
I've got one family, they've lived there for like 10 years. And I'm like,
right,
how are they, I'm like, how are they okay with that? Like they don't have air conditioning in this
yeah,
apartment that they live in. And I'm like, and their girls are older now and one of them's pregnant. And so she reached out to me, but that was one of my first outreaches that I went to at this apartment complex, and the one that you can't deliver food. But I'm like, you don't have air conditioning in your unit. Like, how have you lived there for over 10
yep.
years? Like, since I've known you for over 10 years, like, how are you comfortable with that? Like, I don't get it. And like, how do you survive like not having a job for that long? I just don't get it.
Well, we've got places here, 3 generations of families, they live in the same apartment
Hmm.
complex, grandma,
Yeah.
mom, babies. I
Hmm.
mean, it's just,
Yeah. Hmm.
I don't
Yep.
know.
It's not right.
I would,
Hmm.
I would bang my head up against the wall if you have clearly. I mean, you've got a one-way ticket to heaven in my mind. Because I mean, I would
Thanks. I
just
appreciate it.
some of these
There are
things.
days there. I have my days for sure. And that's the ones that are tough. Is giving the kids back to
Right,
like,
right.
like I said, the
Oh,
quarterly rescue is what I call them. But those are so hard to give the kids back because you're like, that is not a good situation. The mom doesn't care. Even if the mom does care, like that child's not going to be taken care of the right way. So most of these moms will like use the kids because they'll post on Facebook groups like, "Hey, I need diapers for my babies, and by the way, I also need food for
right.
myself," which is stupid. And especially at Christmas time, I'm seeing these same ones. So it's funny because we have kind of a filter. Like we know the same ones that kind of abuse these systems all year round. And so those are the ones we're not going to help them at Christmas.
Right.
Sorry, we couldn't get to you.
Yeah.
Hate to be like that, but it's true. And so I always like, looking on these Facebook groups and I'm like, don't help that mom. Please don't
Right.
help that mom. Like she doesn't even have any kids anymore. They're taken in custody. She doesn't even have her kids. Like she has no kids at her house. So do not give her presents for these kids that she has. And, I always tell people like don't give them like random families money unless like you go and meet them in person maybe or something. But even then, like you're not going to really see like the actual situation. So I always say like give the organizations because they typically know. Most of these nonprofits in each area, like they kind of know the same families that abuse things, and they know like whenever they get their kids taken from them because they will tell them like, hey, I got my kids taken from me. I need beds to get them
Yeah.
back. So I'm like, okay, well, you don't have your kids with you. And maybe they're trying to get them back. That's one thing. We know the ones that are like really close to reunification. Yeah, we'll help you with some gifts because you're going to take them to them. We know that. So yeah, I would suggest giving to organizations rather than individuals for sure.
Has there ever been a scenario where you cared for a kid and then the kid went back to the mom and tragically like lost his life or anything?
No, I haven't had any, no deaths, but yeah, definitely abuse. We've seen it, because we typically would help like the foster parent, like that's kind of how we got introduced to that situation. And then we try to like help the parent whenever they go back. And so, yeah, we've heard from like foster parents, like, hey, we're getting that kid again because they were abused again. So yeah, we've seen that happen, but yeah, no deaths yet. We try to, it's hard to gauge like, okay, what's the outcomes? Like what are our, at the end of the year, you usually have like a newsletter and say like, okay, this is how many lives we saved, or this is how many, we can't really say like, okay, we saved this baby's life, but we know we did because they're still here. So it's really hard to kind of like get our, statistics. We have like the number of kids we help, and but yeah, most of the crisis nurseries, they kind of gauge like, oh, the stress level of the parent was this much better, whenever they left the nursery. I'm like, well, they can go get in traffic and get in a bad mood again. They're going to get stressed again when they leave here. So it's really hard to like, you can't gauge it by that for sure. So we just kind of have like different ways that we kind of, do our outcomes, but we know at the end of the day, like it's definitely, saving these kids' life, and we know it is. So.
Well, you're doing amazing work out there. Give people your website or your Facebook group, and if anybody wants to help, one more time, and we'll start wrapping this up.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Especially, like I said, this time of the year, it's definitely needed. We are helping some families in Wichita Falls as well. We've got a couple in like Duncan, Lawton area. So we kind of, we do help at Ardmore. We've got one family in Ardmore that I know we're going to help. But we do try to help, like if we can, if we know somebody that like lives, or that's going to go travel to another area, we do help other areas too. And we've been known to send diapers for sure. But our Facebook is OKCity Crisis Nursery. And then crisisnurseryokc.com is our website. So we try to keep, all that up to date. Typically, our Facebook is our kind of our number one that we get, requests from, and that we also, send out information. So
perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on here, and I hope a lot of people help out after this.
Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks. Have a good day. You too. Thank you. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff had to step out. He's been having some health issues, and they have got him scheduled for a stress test today at 1:15. So he had to step out earlier, but yeah, great podcast. If there's any way that you can help this organization or a local organization in your town, please do. Christmas time, it's supposed to be a magical time of year, and there's just a lot of people out there struggling right now. But if there's, and you might be one of those families, but if there's any extra resources that you have, find somebody to help, make Christmas time special for a lot of these kiddos. And it's a tough time out there. We got to help each other. We got to look out for each other and be there when we can. So if there's an organization or something that you can help out, please do. And yeah, that's basically it. Jeff went to go get his stress test. So hopefully we'll have some answers on that front here in the coming days. And yeah, that's pretty much all we got here. So take care of one another out there, play nice, and have a Merry Christmas. Go check out our sponsors. Go check out Dirty Duck Coffee, Shin Gear, Looking Glass Podcast, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls, Boss Shot Shells, MLR Graphics, Lucky Duck, Ducks Unlimited, Double T British Kennels, Mossberg, Stanfield Outfitters, Hemp Hill Farm, got Lou on CBD, brand new dog, and Alpha Outdoor Specialties.